On this week's Foodie Friday, we're turning into Northeast Portland, where there is a new restaurant dedicated to seasoned, foraged, and wild foods. It's called Morchella.
Yeah, so they have a forager's tasting menu or an a la carte menu available for both brunch and dinner. So joining us live now is the chef and owner, Chef Cameron Dunlap. Good morning.
How's it going?
Doing great, doing great. Thanks for taking the time this morning. So we hear about foraged or wild foods, but what exactly does that mean? What are you putting on the plate here?
Well, I think the important thing is to think about what food sources don't come from a supermarket. And that's kind of the inspiration for me for foraging. It's just identifying products that grow here naturally and then kind of scaling their edibility and their use in a culinary sense, and then deciding that that's what we're going to put on our menu. So the one that I'm going to go out for tomorrow morning up in the Columbia River Gorge is probably going to be elderberries. There's thousands and thousands of pounds in every direction out of Portland. So instead of making your cough syrup this year, or instead of buying cough syrup from Whole Foods, you should just go out and get yourself some elderberries and make some yourself.
Wow, that's really neat.
Yeah, pretty cool.
I would imagine, foraging, it takes a good know-how and a lot of knowledge, not only of, what's in season, but where to find it, how to find it safely. How did you get into foraging?
Well, I got fired. And that's what happened. I got fired, and then I was kind of sulking around, and I went up to the West Hills and I happened to look around, and I realized that some of the product that we had from the restaurant that day were stinging nettles, and they were on the ground at my feet. And this kind of thought clicked, like, oh, there's stuff out there that has value culinarily, and it's free. And I'm a broke line cook that doesn't even have a job now. So if I'm thinking about exotic products that I want to use, that I can afford, those are the ingredients that I find in the wild. So that was kind of the first thing. And that has set on an adventure of the last 8 years to try to learn everything there is about wild foods of the Pacific Northwest.
Wow.
Very cool.
So how do you take this process? I mean, it started with you just, kind of by happenstance going out and beginning to forage. But how do you bring this to Morchella? This isn't just for you now.
Yeah,
You're serving this and scaling it much bigger. Yeah, so how do you make that transition?
Yeah, well, so we did a pop-up like 6 years ago, I think, when I was 26. And the pop-up explored how it kind of put into use the foraging we were doing in a real world situation where we're trying to, as chefs, like build menus around seasonality, which is terrible to try to guess when elderberries are going to be ripe every year. It changes every year. And so we went through all the restaurant logistics of doing some smaller dinners. And then through that, and through the last few years, I have met a network of foragers, mushroom hunters, plant foragers. Some of, I think, the best in the state of Oregon. Some of them commercially harvest for some of the better known chefs in Portland that you would never know that that's where they get their product from, but they're the people that we're working with.
Wow.
And then, so that's how we kind of make this work logistically, is knowing where and how to source these wild ingredients, as well as doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
And
it's really cool. I mean, we talk so much about farm to table dining, and this is almost like that next level of, it doesn't get any more hyper local than, having this wonderful seasonal dish of ingredients that were literally, discovered in our backyard.
Right.
So
pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Such a cool thing to go check out.
I feel like a lot of it is rediscovery of what's already been done and what's already there. And I love that it's my thing, because it's like all you realize is that you don't know anything, and that there's so much more out there for us to learn. Our year anniversary of being open is going to be on October 15th. So I've kind of been coming up with this idea where I want to buy my wild game meat from Nick USA and do a 5-course menu where we're going to shut down that week.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my staff out and just go foraging, and we're only going to do a tasting menu for 30 people, one night only. of like 100% foraged foods and wild game meats. We can't source hunted game meats because that's not legal, but we want to go 100% wild and just see what that means. You know, fats, oils, sugars, everything has to be something that you can get from Oregon that we get ourselves.
Cool. That is so cool.
Chef, I hate to cut you off, but we're running low on time in the show. But it's really cool. Love what you've done with it, and congrats on the success over at Morchella. We'll see you out there soon.
Thanks.
All right, take care. And Morchella, located on Northeast Fremont and 13th Avenue. They're open from 5 to 10 p.m. Tuesday through Saturdays. Check it out.
Very, very cool. Yeah.